Good morning, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to look at the energy. I had to pause then. Find the endings before we step into the beginnings. My name is Kirsty Dignam. I'm here to look at the weekly energies with today's Monday's Musings on the 4th of November 2024. Okay, so there's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of emotional turbulence. There's a lot of overlap occurring at the moment with the energies. A lot of old stories coming back up for one last replay. There's a lot to be mindful of politically, and I don't just mean in the external arena. There's a lot of parties vying for our intention, yes, our attention, but definitely our intention as well. Within us, aspects of us coming to the surface that want to be seen so that we can determine what our intentions are based on. I'm here to look into the weekly energies, as I always am, for several reasons. None more so than I enjoy doing it. I enjoy connecting to the energy. I would be doing it anyway for myself, and I enjoy sharing that with people. This week we're being encouraged to look at what success actually means for us. What part of our own journey, our own wisdom is going to, for want of a better phrase, get our vote. What energy we are going to lean into, to recognize that there is a difference between having self-awareness, not a difference, it's twofold, to have self-awareness and to base our actions on that awareness. And to realize then with more self-awareness that we've done that. So that we can complete the many cycles that are coming up to be held, accepted, loved, and moved through. I've just set up an altar behind me, and I've gone through all different phases and different sprays and different energies, and in the process I've come to the final energy that I want to work with, or that I'm being guided to work with, and actually know that I want to work with this week in particular, and that is of the violet flame, because of its transformation. One of the most transforming things we can do this week and in our life is decide the energies we want to work with, our own included. One of my legacies is to share what I'm feeling drawn to share who I am, to be who I am. One, to assist others, but also to assist myself so that I learn about myself. This week we're being encouraged to feel into what legacy we are hoping to share, because it's that that's going to form the basis of our success. It's going to be different for everybody. And the truth of the matter is it needs to be different for everybody. That's where there is a discernment required to step back. It's okay for things to be different for you. It's paramount. Actually, it doesn't need defending, and it most definitely doesn't need defending on the back of others. There's going to be that risk there, that competition this week, not just externally, politically, but within us and with those that we love also, with those that are near and dear to us as the strongest reflection of where we are in the process. And again, that's that self-awareness. We can acknowledge that we may have room to expand and then do so. We can acknowledge where we may have room to expand and then contract down in that based on our own judgments. An example, none of us are perfect. We all fuck up. We all say things or can look back in hindsight and think, I could do better, particularly with hindsight. And it's important to remember that. It's only when we go through the lessons, through the process, that we can look back and say, right, next time I can do better. It's not about looking back and saying, I should have done this then. but next time I can do better. And then actually doing better. Okay, so there's a difference between lip service and actually doing it. But an example, this weekend, I could have supported my husband better than I did. I got caught up in my own stories. I needed to shift my own healing with that. I can see that now. Now I need to act on that. Okay, so this week, being aware of what's coming up, being aware that with humility, that we're all learning, we're all continually discovering parts of ourselves, and that's not, I could quite easily, and there's still part of me that wants to, all under my solar plexus, I could quite easily feel into the blame, the shame, the guilt, the I should be better, I should know better, da 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 da. I could even point the finger at him if I wanted to, saying he should have behaved this way, da da. And we can get really caught up in that this week, this political agenda of our own shadows that merely need to be held, that need to be seen and accepted and loved and worked through. You're capable of doing it. We're all capable of doing it. And it can be uncomfortable initially. At the end of it, and that's the other thing that's really important this week. So being aware of something, aligning our actions with a more expanded awareness and coming to a completion with that. So at the end of it, for me, what really, really helps is humour. Because in my own medicine wheel, as I go round to the west, it's held in place by the thunder beings, the Heyoka, the sacred clown, the ability to point a finger at myself and think, twat. So find something that helps you complete the circle, and find something that may be different to what initiated it. It's that age-old not being able to change something with the same energy this week. If we really want to transform something, and that is the potential this week, if we really want to transform it, what's the opposite end of the spectrum here? What can we do that's going to totally break down any judgments, any views, any blocks that we may have about something? Particularly the more subconscious hidden ones, and that's what's coming to the surface. How? Well, it's really quite simple. We have to work with our feelings. We have to work with our emotions rather than lashing out with them or pushing them away or saying they're because of somebody else. Externally, our emotions are triggered externally, be that love, anger, hate, fear, but they happen from within. They happen from within your body, so they are your emotions, and that's not in a space of pointing fingers or blame or anything, but in a space of empowerment. They're not out of your control. They are an emotion that is moving through you. Okay, you know, if we needed to go to the toilet and we saw something that made us feel nauseous, we would say that it's us that's being sick, not that person. You know, it's a perfectly normal bodily function to have emotions. As a society, you know, we're going over old ground here, but as a society, we're not used to working with them. So there's a lot of lashing out. The best way, the most simple, easiest way to be with that is, does something make you feel expansive? Be that your thoughts, be that your employment, your relationship, does it make you feel expansive? Do you feel expansive, or have you contracted? Now, that's not to say we always feel expansive, but that is to say, be aware of whether you're expanded or contracted before you choose, to act. Things happen. We get triggered. We feel these things. It's perfectly normal to want to go within. It's the body's way of saying, whoa, I can't deal with this right now. So, okay, if we're feeling that, rather than then act out. You know, I'm a terrible culprit for when I'm feeling contracted. That's a really great time for me to have a deep conversation, when actually it really isn't. And it's a work in progress. We're all a work in progress. So this weekend I came upstairs and I sat with that feeling of going within. And I did what my body wanted to do. It wanted to go within. It wanted to feel safe, and then expansive, and then act. This week, we talk about alignment, but there's a real potential to acknowledge what it is we're aligning to. Of course, we can get caught up in the this is going on outside. And it's not to say that it's not. And we can get caught up in the I've tried this, this and this, and I need this, this and this, my needs being met, that person's needs being met, they're being balanced. And that's not to say that it's not relevant. It is. But all of these things, everything that you are encountering this week, are you doing so? Are you acting from a place of constriction or expansion? It's the more we can figure that out, you know, when we take it to the analogy of exercise or labor or, you know, contraction of muscle memory or wounds or whatever analogy you want to use with it, the more we can figure out where we're coming from, the more we can decide whether or not we're in a receptive mode, whether or not we're in a giving mode. We can find that balance within us. We can allow that to reach harmony and then be from there. So that we don't give and end up feeling like a martyr, or so that we don't end up stepping right back and not getting what we need. We can restore that flow simply by taking it to the next level, not pointing out externally, coming within. Do I feel expanded when I share this? Now, I recognise we live in a world where we may have to work and we might not feel like going to work. You know, we may have to share something or do something and we might not feel like we want to do that. We might feel as if we are contracted, and we live in a real world, right? We live in a physical world and these things need to be completed. Wouldn't dream of saying to someone with lots and lots of children, you know, if you're not feeling expansive, don't take them on the school run. Of course not. Let's get real here. However, we can expand our energy by breathing. We can expand our energy by deciding to take one moment to choose what we focus on. That's, again, not to say toxic gratitude, but to be aware. Self-awareness is so multi-dimensional. It isn't just about our energy, but the actions that we're doing based on that energy too. It isn't just about our emotions, but it's about where our thoughts are regarding those emotions. Awareness is all of the elements. Okay, so if we're, oh God, I'm in a rush, oh God, that school run becomes a lot more difficult. That energy then towards that child becomes more hostile. We then have the guilt cycle, and you know, it goes round and round and round. So pause. That 1 second pause is going to save you a lot of damage control this week. It's going to save you a lot of time in the long run. It's the age-old saying, meditate for 20 minutes, and if you can't afford 20 minutes, do it for 30 or something like that. If you feel as if you haven't got the time to deal with something, but you're still having to do it, make the time to do it from a place that is expansive. My mum used to say, shit or get off the pot. And that is what we're being faced with this week. If you don't like what you're doing, if it isn't giving you what you need and you can't expand and make that more positive for you, don't do it. Don't point at other people that continue to do it. Hold yourself accountable with agency this week. It's going to be an interesting week. There are a lot of energies that are playing out. It's going to be an intense month, at least until the 17th, 18th, 19th of this month. By the end of it, we are going to be exhausted, depending on how well we can let something different come in now, depending on how well we can let go. It isn't easy. There's a million reasons why we can't let go. There's a million judgments and stories and situations and emotions why we can't let go very often. However, the next few weeks we are going to be given opportunities to do that. We are going to be given the laxatives, if you will, that are going to help us restore any balance that's needed. The other thing that's coming through, we are going to be very aware of endings and beginnings almost simultaneously and be given a choice. There is going to be the potential of antagonistic energies, almost as if the masculine is becoming more in tune and the feminine is becoming more action driven. Okay, and this will be over November, December into the solstice until the masculine light returns. So yes, we may feel intuitively that we have to make decisions now. And those decisions may feel unguided, but there's an element of trust there. There's an element of figuring it out physically by experiencing it. Okay, there's an element of recognizing that the human experience is part of the lesson also. If we want something different, if we want something new, and there is a big if there. There is a big if there. You know, we don't have to change things if we don't feel like we want to change things. However, don't be surprised if the environment around you changes and it may not fit you anymore. People, situations, circumstances may not be relatable anymore, and that may be where the change needs to come in. Only you can decide if you are aligned with the energies that you want to live, the legacy you want to leave behind through the current actions that you're taking. And that can be quite difficult this week because there's a lot of looking outside for role models, looking outside for answers, looking outside for worth. Yeah, looking outside for external worth rather than self-worth, which is what next year is all going to be about with the Hermit and with the Moon. But there's going to be a lot of illusions emotionally that need to come to the surface in order to recognize the light that we are and that we are taking forward, and perhaps where we haven't been allowing that to happen for whatever reason. Wounds were never meant to be excuses, but reasons to find the wisdom. And that is a bit, yeah, I need to sit with the discomfort of that. And this week there may be those moments where we say things, where the language coming through is coming from a loving place, but may still be harsh. And it doesn't make it any less necessary, for ourselves included. Okay, the other thing that was coming through for this week in particular is there's going to be a lot of fate-driven energies. So if all else fails, if you're really unsure, put it out there, set the intention, and trust that the universe will sort it one way or another. We can get really caught up in trying to be perfect. You know, self-awareness can actually become the biggest rabbit hole that there is. We can become so aware of so many different angles and so many different perspectives that we don't actually act on it. You know, we can either overact, overreact, or not act on it. And there's a fine line balance here. So literally setting the intention, knowing that you're doing the best that you can in that moment, acknowledging whatever comes up is going to come up to help you become as aligned as possible. And it's one step in front of the other, bit by bit. Okay, no one's expecting anybody to be perfect, and we can all, it's that hindsight thing, look back and go, oh God, I've done it again. So that's the other thing with the energies of the fates this week. It is a very fate driven week. There may be moments where you think no matter what you do, this is coming up to be seen, or no matter what you do, the situation isn't changing, or no matter what you do, you can't quite figure it out. And that's because it's out of our hands as well this week. What's important is we pause, we assess the situation, we gauge where we're at. Are we expansive or contractive? If we're contracted, that's fine. It just means we need some nurture. Before we give, we need to receive. And if we're expansive, then give. If you feel expansive and you have a lot to give, then give. And if you feel contracted and that you want to go in, then receive. That's the beauty of this world, that it's a constant flow. There are times when we give, at times when we receive, and that's perfectly normal. Perfectly normal. So if you are finding yourself in that space, okay, so you need to receive. That's all. You just need to receive. Anything else on that? I think that will do. 20 minutes in, we'll look at the energy for this week. I'm looking at something to the side of me actually, and it's a little laminate thing that was given to me from the Rowan's Hospice. And it's to do with writing, because I got this when I was doing a writing course. So it's to do with anything creative this week that may be coming up if you're uncertain of doing it. I feel all the energy coming around me. It's impossible, said pride. It's risky, said experience. It's pointless, said reason. Give it a try, whispered the heart. This week we're not going to know what we want unless we try it, because we've changed. Things have changed, circumstances have changed, and we're not going to realise how much until we try these things. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to look at the energies this week briefly. And that feels quite important as well. It's almost like a debrief. It's like a debrief of the weekend. It's almost like a need to know basis, not to get too bogged under with it all. I'm going to use the Radiant Rider Waite because it felt important to go back to the original. What sparked you? Why do you do what you do? Keep coming back to that. Keep feeding from that, and then going back out. Let the thing that you fell in love with be the thing that feeds you when you find that you're going into that contractive space. Okay? So for me, sharing, yeah, I'd love to say it's because I'm this and I'm that and I'm such a wonderful person. I enjoy sharing. I enjoy sharing. I enjoy getting, working with the energy and getting that energy back. I enjoy the flow of sharing. I always have. And yeah, I'm in love with that. And sometimes when I'm feeling a bit gnarly about what I share, it's because I've lost sight of the fact that it was me that always enjoyed doing it, and it's not based on what I get back from others. So this week, if you're losing sight of what you love to do, if you're feeling contracted, what about it did you love in the first place? Not from the situation, but from how it made you feel. I guarantee it made you feel expansive. So feel into how something initially made you feel, how it made you expand, and just stand in that energy. And I can almost guarantee what you then share will return to that place also. Okay, energies this week and how to best navigate it. We do get so caught up in, you know, particular social media. Am I getting likes? Am I getting follows? And it's hard. It's really hard. Sometimes I find myself literally sharing almost identical things to people that are like famous for what they say and what they share, you know, multi-millionaires. And I think, hang on a minute. Now, I can either feel into that, and sometimes I do. Of course, I get narky sometimes, and I see that as a value of my worth, and I lose sight of who I am, and I start putting all these rigid structures in place because it's part of the process. And then, lo and behold, I stop enjoying what I do, and I almost stop doing what I do sometimes. And then I remember why I do what I do, and I fall back in love with it. And this week, that's the opportunity to stop comparing ourselves to other situations, to stop finding that worth externally, to remember how it feels to expand in who we are and what we offer and what we share, to do so from that place and then receive the beauty back. Okay, energies this week and how to best navigate them. Oh, and have some fun, right? Have some fun. So we have at the bottom the Hierophant here. Now, what can we say about the Hierophant that hasn't already been said? I can hear the song from Deadpool, and I'm just seeing the Deadpool spin round, that beauty come out of ashes. What can we say about these lessons? What can we feel into about the wisdom that's coming through this week? What has been missing? The beauty, the joy, the celebration, all the things that we have gained as a result. Focus on that this week, or not. I mean, the Hierophant can be very dogmatic, so I'm not here to tell you what to focus on. But if you're feeling as if something is lackluster and you're focusing on what it isn't, you're not going to see what it is. It is that simple. So this week, if you want to really connect to your spirit, to your soul, and to that of others, perhaps look at what you're focusing on. Okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, overall. I almost have this sensation of, oh shit, do you want to tell him or shall I? that's how it feels this week. So overall, we actually have the Ace of Pentacles. We have a new physical beginning here. Please, please, please keep that in mind. No matter what is happening, we have an opportunity to step forward in a new way, on a new path, no matter what happens this week. To do so, to have new physical beginnings, to have any new start, of course, we have endings. And that is the first major arcana, other than the one underneath it all, that is coming up for the Monday, which is the Death card. Now, this energy has been very present the last few weeks for a lot of people. Has the music stopped? No, it should come back on. There's an acceptance coming on the Monday today of the things that we can change and the things that we can't change. There is an opportunity to focus on what is beyond it all. My eyes are being drawn to the two towers on the Death card and the sun rising, but I'm also acutely aware of how similar it is to the Moon card, which is later during the week. So on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever's coming up for endings on the Monday will come up again on the Friday to look at emotionally. It's a two-way process. That's what I feel this week. And on the Monday, there is no getting around what needs to be discussed with yourself, with others, with your heart. You know, we can say focus on what brings you joy, and sometimes it just doesn't anymore. That needs to be acknowledged on the Monday. To get to the very bones of it. On the Death card, the character wears armor in a protective stance against the very bones that now need to be seen. Allow yourself to be open, pure in your intentions, receptive. Trust in your capability. The more we see ourselves through the changes that have happened, the less we protect ourselves from the version that is now wanting to come through, the easier this path is going to be. So my question on the Monday is, why wouldn't you want the changes that are being offered? Feeling into that, acknowledging any secondary gains underneath it, seeing whatever it is you are experiencing, riding out, walking with at the moment as a far greater picture of things that have been stood in your way. So on the Death card here, Death has its flag, its legacy, what it's riding forward. And you can see that there's money standing in the way, riches. Oh no, no, please, you can't go past. There's innocence there, there's childhood innocence there. Yeah, there's illness there. All these reasons for what is true to your soul not to move forward. However, it's the Death card. There is going to be an end to all the blocks that have stood in the way of us all standing in our potential. And on the Monday, that's going to start to come to light in time for the Friday, because on the Friday emotionally, that's all going to start to rise to call us out. On the Tuesday, we have the King of Swords, and you know, Monday can be a bit So take stock Monday. On the Tuesday, it's almost like we come back down to earth, and it's like, okay, so I've recognized that, I've seen that, I've felt that, whoa, these have been some deep shifts and transformations. And then on the Tuesday, it's, and what? Chop wood, carry water, back to work. Back to the physical self. It's the King of Swords. So it's one thing to have these incredible insights and lessons. Again, it's that self-awareness and the application of it in our actions. How aligned are we? How true are our actions to what is coming to light on the Monday? On the Tuesday, taking a moment to sit with them. Okay, so what does this now mean for me? I may not have joy in this situation. On the Tuesday, what am I going to do about that? And being very honest and authentic with where you stand, or where you sit in this case. The King of Swords actually sits with his legs wide open. So again, it's going back to that masculine energy being very receptive in what is now needed, willing to listen, willing to hear what has been going on underneath it all anyway. On the Wednesday, that brings forth a real grounded connection in the feminine, in the Queen of Pentacles. On the Wednesday, those intuitive insights become more solid because they've been acted on. When we act on what we feel, we start to really believe what we know. And that is incredibly empowering over the Tuesday and the Wednesday energy. Having our actions aligned with our thoughts, having our intuition aligned with our body, so that come the Thursday with the Four of Wands, we start to build that stability. I mean, the Four of Wands is related to the home, and yes, we could say the home, but also our body. So our physical body is aligned with our mind, our emotions, and our spiritual energy, so that from that perspective we are more centered in, the four pillars can be morals. We are more centered in our legacy, our beliefs, what it is we want to take forward, and how come the Thursday. On the Friday, there's going to be a few emotional roundabouts spinning out. Where does this fit in the world? How can I apply this? How do I get out of this emotional stupor almost? How can I rise above this now? I know this. I want to take this forward. So what do I do about that? Well, on the Saturday, we have the Judgment card. Ask for help. Allow these things to call us out, to step into our potential, to recognize part of that help that we're asking for is our own legacy itself. Whether that's a job, whether that's a relationship, whether that's something that you want to leave behind in this world, work with it. Work with it. An example, and again, another reason to share, because when we share, we learn. I am all for sharing, all for Aini, all for flow, and allowing that to happen freely. If I, in those moments of doubt, tune into what that energy actually is, that legacy actually is, I remember how much I love doing that. So this week, feel into the legacy that you believe in. Allow that to help you to rise above what's going on, your own emotions particularly. If you believe we live in a world where your needs are met, but you spend that time doubting it, okay, when you doubt it, when you feel contracted, allow that belief to come in and help you expand. Doesn't mean you have to do anything. Feel into what you believe so that you can start to get rid of the bits that are no longer in alignment with that. On the Sunday, we then have the Page of Swords. We have that new way of thinking. We have that childlike, humour-filled way of approaching things that's almost been looking back at the rest of the cards like, oh, thank God that's over. Next. That zest for life, that mental zest for life, because that's the other thing. A lot of the uncertainties this week are purely about the mindset going from immaturity to wisdom, purely about growing up in our mentality, purely about seeing where, for whatever reason, particularly at a younger age with the inner child, our actions may have been judged, they may have felt not enough, not worthy, or we may have doubted them. That's still an ongoing background energy. So feeling into that this week, and the only way to stop it isn't to push it to one side, isn't to berate it or shame it or guilt it, but is to almost prove it wrong. If we doubt our worth, standing in that and acting from that is going to really help heal that wound. And no one else can do that for us but ourselves. Rightfully so, because then we get the empowerment of feeling capable, safe, aligned, powerful, sovereign, authentic, whatever word you want to give it. Then we step into that energy that initially had the idea or the spark or the love or the connection, or then we become our legacy purely by being who we are. Then, hey, it doesn't matter if you're working in a supermarket, cleaning floors, driving lorries, writing the next bestseller. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You're doing you. You're doing you, and that becomes your legacy. Okay, so overall, that's that new beginning, which isn't really a new beginning. It's more in how we see ourselves. So overall, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, because we have the Hierophant underneath, 4 major arcanas. Again, that structure does come from universal forces this week. Fate's going to lend a helping hand, trusting that. That could very well be that new physical beginning. You may find that what you do hasn't got its spark because of where you do it. Okay, so fate's going to come in and help you shift that, provided you are willing to acknowledge what it is you don't like about whatever it is you're doing, and then asking for help and receiving that. You may find that the relationships in your life aren't in balance. Okay, so fate's going to come along and help you with that one as well. Okay. It's not about what happens to us, but what happens for us this week, because it is about those endings that need to come to the surface to call us out beyond the illusion of who we have become. Don't need to say any more of that on the major arcanas, because ultimately the major fates, the reason that we're here is to be who we are. Pure and simple. There's no point having more than one Kirsty. There's only one of me in this world, and what I bring to this world, my flaws as well. I was going to say particularly, so who knows? My flaws as well are needed. Who I am is needed as I am. The same as you, the same as your neighbour, the same as that person that really pisses you off and down the road or whatever. We're all here to be who we're here to be. Fate will ensure that this week. So what do we do? Well, there's 5 minor arcanas. The changing point actually comes from how we react to that. And we have 2 sword cards, both masculine, the Page of Swords and the King of Swords. There is going to be a toing and froing, and it's coming from impatience. It's coming from a feeling of running out of time. It's coming from a, oh my God, nothing's changing. This has been going on forever type sensation. Because of that, there's going to be a backwards and forwards of maturity when it comes to our mindset. There is no judgment there. If you feel as if things aren't fun or they're taking too long, what can you do to help that? If you're feeling as if you're feeling blocked and nothing's changing, okay, what can you do to help that? Is it a reality? Is it the reality you're in, or is it a wound that's coming up? And either or, what do you need? Because the maturity of the mindset is going to come in how we look after our own mentality this week. Our mentality is one of the biggest actions we can take. If our mind's not in it, nothing else is going to be. So really noticing where our head is at before we act on anything this week and what it needs, so that it can be more constructively focused towards the outcome. We then have 2 pentacle cards. So the mind and the body are balanced this week, which is beautiful. And the 2 pentacle cards are the Queen of Pentacles and the Ace of Pentacles. I'm going to show you this because the Queen's holding the pentacle and the Ace of Pentacles is a hand holding the pentacle. So the physical beginnings here, or the physical change here, is being held by our own intuitive connection to the earth, to our body, to our emotions, to what is actually going on. Our mentality may want to take us out of the situation this week, but it's really important that we keep coming back to the body, come back to what we feel. Be with what we feel rather than chucking it out there, lashing it out, whatever. Be with what we feel. Find the gold within it. What's actually coming out to be held, to be seen, to be loved, to be worked through here. And it may be, well, I'm not finding this very pleasant anymore. I'm not finding this very enriching anymore. Okay, so what needs to give? What needs to change? Because that is in our hands. The physical change is in our hands, but it does mean we need to feel into what is going on and be honest with that. Nurture the honesty, nurture the body, nurture the sensations for the beautiful physical wisdom that's coming through. It may be uncomfortable. It may be something that we don't want to know or face. That doesn't mean it's not there, particularly in the background of our actions this week. And, you know, knowledge is power. We can't let our shadow keep dictating the momentum. And then we have 1 wand card, which is the 4 of Wands. So that safety and security comes from, where's it come from? Actually, that's what I want to ask. Where does the safety and security that you need come from, really? That's what we're being asked to focus on this week. We can believe that if we have enough money, we'll feel safe. If we have this relationship, we'll feel safe. If we have this job, we'll feel safe. If only we got this, this and this, we would be happy with what we have. And actually what I'm feeling is like a sensation of like ants in the pants, actually. Where is the safety really coming from? Where can it really come from? Look back through the energies that you've managed to rely on your whole life, and there's a high chance you may find a completely different answer than you thought this week. There aren't any cup cards, and that feels quite pivotal, even though it feels like an emotional week. It's not about getting lost in our emotions. It is about feeling them. It is about being aware of our mentality behind our emotions. And it is about how that affects our spirituality, our drive, our safety, our capability, and our security in how we choose to view ourselves and the world and those around us. Be mindful of that this week. There's a lot of not nice energy being directed around to people. I've felt it myself, been dreaming of it myself as well. And you know, we can all protect ourselves, we can all send it love or whatever, but after a while it gets quite tiring. So be aware of your energy, be aware of where it's being directed, be aware of accountability, take responsibility for what you feel, not only for other people but for yourself, because there's a lot to be gained in that. There's a lot of empowerment in that, and you actually take back your own power there. Okay, so one last card for the week because we're at 42 minutes. Yeah, we're still in a state of mourning. We have the 5 of Cups and the 4 of Swords. Collectively, we're in a massive state of mourning right now. In order to move through that, not beyond. No, I did not say beyond. It's not about moving on, okay? And I find it incredibly disrespectful when anybody says, oh, you know, maybe you should be over this. Whether that's grief, change, whatever, it takes as long as it takes this week. It's not about moving on, but moving through your process. And your process is different from everybody's, okay? We're all here uniquely inspired, uniquely driven, uniquely experiencing life. Whilst you're going through whatever it is you are going through, with the 4 of Swords, take time out. Rest. If you're finding yourself contracted, it's the body's way of saying, I need something now. That might be food, nurture, love, support, recognition, whatever. But that starts with you. If you're finding it all a bit overwhelming, take some time out. It's that saying, it will be so much more worth it taking, you know, a minute to pause, to breathe, to recognize where you're acting from, so that that grief isn't caused further down the line, so that we're not looking back saying, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. Grief, the regret of grief, is a very sad thing and often comes from not taking time. Take a moment, pause, be with yourself. This too shall pass. What do you need right now? I'm going to leave it there. Enough is enough. Take care, and I'll see you next week.